Hi everyone, and welcome to another Diploma Insights online DP Psychology workshop. Throughout the month of August, there will be 4 free online workshops, all designed to increase your skills and confidence and give you valuable insights into the DP Psychology course. Each week, there will be a workshop around a different theme, and all you need to do to access the workshops is watch the video on this YouTube channel and then complete a short online task. This week's workshop focuses on critical thinking, a key skill required in your essays. Critical thinking is probably something you do in everyday life. When presented with information, I'm sure you don't just blindly accept that information, and you think critically about that knowledge and information being presented to you. For example, if you see a product that's making very strong claims, I'm sure that you would question the validity of those claims. How has that evidence been obtained? What size sample did they do the research on? Can we really generalize the results to everybody? So critical thinking is something you do in everyday life, and hopefully you should be able to transfer that skill into your psychology essays. Psychology is full of studies and theories, and whether we should accept these theories and the findings from the research is something you should be considering when you're learning about these research and studies and theories. Try to keep an open, healthy, skeptical mind when being presented with research and theories throughout your course. We're not trying to say that they're all rubbish and they attack them, because critical thinking is also looking for the positives as well. So looking for the strengths and what's good about research and theories can also form part of your critical thinking. So remember, critical thinking isn't just about being negative all the time. These are lots of key words that you might be familiar with, and you might understand some of them, and some of them might be new to you. Critical thinking does involve you thinking critically about the research and the theories, and there's a lot of specific psychology terminology that can be involved with critical thinking. So it's really important that you try to understand the key terms, and if you have any questions, ask your teacher about the exact meaning of these words so you're able to use them correctly in your responses. Try to learn a different word each week so you don't just keep using the same words over and over again. Ecological validity is a great term, but try to pick up some new ones so you can incorporate them in your essays. So set yourself the challenge of learning a new key term related to critical thinking each week. You'll gain marks for critical thinking in criterion D of your mark scheme for your essays. There are no marks available in your short answer questions for critical thinking, so do not waste your time including critical thinking in your short answer responses. In your essay responses, we can see there are 6 marks available for critical thinking for paper 1 and paper 2. And they give a suggestion of areas of topics that you could talk about to demonstrate critical thinking. For example, critiquing the research design and the method that the research used, the strengths and the weaknesses. Considering whether the research and the theory has any biases behind it. Looking at whether there is contradictory evidence or is there some more support for the theory or research. These are just some of the key areas that can stimulate critical thinking. This isn't a checklist that you should use for every single essay though, so you will need to select the relevant critical thinking for the particular essay. In this workshop, we're going to focus on how do you demonstrate well-developed critical thinking, which is necessary to score a mark in the top mark band, i.e. a 5 or a 6. Try to take this three-step approach, which will help you demonstrate well-developed critical thinking. Let's look at this question. Evaluate research methods used in the biological approach to understanding human behaviour. To include critical thinking, first of all, you should state an idea that is relevant to the question. So here we've been asked to evaluate the research methods. So first of all, state a strength or a weakness related to the research methods. So for example, in the biological approach, a lot of the research methods that are used are experiments, in particular lab experiments, and they tend to have an issue with lacking ecological validity. So you're making your first statement, your point, your claim about research methods in the biological approach. Then go on to explain that point, elaborate, add more detail to demonstrate that you understand what ecological validity is and why it's a weakness in relation to research in the biological approach. Ecological validity means that the research has taken place in a setting that is artificial, and therefore the results obtained in that artificial environment might not be representative of behaviour in more realistic settings. The independent variable is manipulated by the researcher in a lab experiment, and again, this is not true to life of how behaviour might occur in a realistic setting. So take time to elaborate and explain what ecological validity is, why it's an issue with regards to research methods. Step 3 is to link what you've said back to the question. And this might just be one sentence using terms from the question in your link to make sure that you explicitly link what you've just said in step 1 and 2 back to the question. Taking this three-step approach will force you to explain your point about the critical thinking, the strength or the weakness, and that will encourage you to have more well-developed, explained, elaborated critical thinking, which can help you obtain a top mark band response. In questions when you've been asked to evaluate a theory, you can also evaluate the research that's relevant to that theory to help you explain the strengths and weaknesses of the theory. So in this case, when asked to evaluate social identity theory, I can look at the empirical evidence by Tajfel and evaluate the study to help evaluate the theory. But I must make this explicitly clear and make sure that I'm always focused on linking back to the question, which is about the theory. So again, take the three-step approach. State your main point about the theory. In this case, I've gone for the strength relating to the idea that the theory has empirical support to back up and validate and support the ideas of social identity theory. I then need to go on to explain why this is a good thing or why it's a bad thing. So, Tajfel's study does support the theory. However, the study does have its issues. For example, the task that the students were asked to participate in was something that was very unfamiliar to them and isn't something they would probably be asked to do in real life, and therefore it lacks mundane reality. Step 3 then, I need to now link that back to the theory because the question is about evaluating the theory. So because there are some issues with the supporting research, that therefore does shed some doubt on the validity of the theory. So by evaluating the study, I've been able to evaluate the theory, but I've made that link explicitly clear. Sometimes you can get carried away with evaluating research. You can still evaluate research in a question that asks you to evaluate the theory, but the key thing is step 3, making sure that you link whatever you have said about the study, link it back to the theory. We really hope you found this video useful and it's given you an insight into how you can demonstrate well-developed critical thinking in your psychology essays. It's now time for you to take the quiz if you'd like to, and you'll find the link to that in the description underneath this video on YouTube. Feel free to give this video a like if you found it useful, leave us some positive feedback, follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and help spread the word to other DP psychology students who may find this useful. The feedback so far has been really positive for the workshops, and as usual, if you have any questions or if you'd like any further support, please feel free to email us diplomainsights@outlook.com. Hopefully we'll see you all again next week.